Oh, hey, 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 yo, ho, I, hey, 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 oh, hey.
Another beautiful day here. And we're going over with my brothers. We're going over the compass, a guide for men, a guide for men, and we've been going over 6 chapters, I believe, and we're down to the last chapter here. And this one is the title of this chapter is Becoming Men. Now, just a little bit about the Compass program that we have, this guide for men. It was put together about 5, 6 years ago now or so, just because there was a call out to Alaska. Men were asking, how do I start up the conversation? I need a guide. I need help. I need some kind of resource. And so many entities across the state got together to put together this program through the Alaska Network on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault and other organizations that are out there. And we came up again with this. It's a curriculum. It's called Compass, a guide for men. That's all it is. And during this year time, I've been together with my brothers here, and all we've been doing is just going through this program, showing you how to do it, engaging, just bringing up the question, bringing up the conversation, and that's what it's about. Just to get to the start, to stop the violence, stop the abuse, the hurt and harm against our sisters, our relatives, LGBTQ communities, and how can we bring and create a healthier Alaska in results of bringing a healthier world. My name is Gene Tagaban. My trinket name is Gayel. I'm of the Duckdane Ton clan, the Raven Freshwater Sockeye clan from Mahuna, Alaska, child of a Wishkatan Eagle Shark clan from Juan in Juneau. I'm Cherokee, Tlingit, and Filipino. And I just want to say, I'm really excited because right now I am coming to you from Juneau, Alaska, my hometown, the town of Santa Kahini, and the land of the Tlingit people, and I'm coming to you from the house that I grew up in, from my parents' house, and so it's really exciting to be here. And so I'm going to turn it over to my brothers here to have them just introduce themselves as we jump into this work that we're doing.
Oh, thanks, Gene. I am also in these wonderful lands, the Tlingit lands, the Aquan, and in the nearby Takuquan peoples. Man, it's a beautiful place. I'll tell you that. The mountains are like right around us. It's almost like they hug us in some ways, and I love that part. But my ancestry is from Europe, and from the Germanic tribes and some other tribes there, and I have a deep respect for my ancestors. I think on a daily basis how they made it, man. They made it, and they got me here, and I so hope to do them proud and carry it on, and hopefully find some healing for my future generations and even my past generations, because I feel like that is possible. And I want to thank y'all for coming and listening to this. Appreciate it.
Nawa, Neat, and Delwan, Johan Echo Hawk Atkinson, DYU, Lakibu, Deptegu, Mescatla, Alaska, Diwalwatku. Hello, my name is Johan Echo Hawk Atkinson. I am of the Wolf Clan here in the Tsimshian Nation. I am here, grew up shooting this video out of Metlakatla, Alaska. And I also want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching our videos. We are really, really, really grateful to be able to share this guide for men with you all.
Right on. Hey, thanks, bros. I just want to, we've been going and doing this now, and this is our 7th chapter. And I just want to throw this out there, just a reflection back. I remember the first one that we did, knowing who you are, and compared to where we're at now, and just even the more confidence where we are going on and talking with each other and having these conversations. We've already gone through knowing who you are, knowing your emotions, respect for self, respect for others, communication, conflict resolution, and again, this last one, becoming men. And this last chapter of becoming men, I think just part of it too is just we've become more comfortable with each other in this way of communicating now, and that's and growing, and that's part of becoming men. and bringing that out there. And so I just want to just point that out to you guys. And so this chapter, this last one, Becoming Men, and there's a story associated with each one of these chapters. And the story I'm going to read here, it goes, The Warrior and the Old Man. The old man was sitting quietly in his lodge when suddenly the door to his lodge opened and a large figure stepped in. A great shadow cast against the wall said, "Old man, I have come to listen to your words. This is what I was told to do. Why? I do not know. So what can you tell me? Speak. I have much to do." The old man looked to the direction of the loud voice. "Yes, warrior. You ask what I, an old man, can say to you. I do not know. I will ask questions instead. The answers that you give will be yours." And with that, the old man lifted his hand and touched his heart. "When you come into your lodge, do you strike fear into your children, into your women? Or do they know they have nothing to fear from you? Is your heart exposed to your loved ones? Can you softly sing a song of love to your children and say to that child, to the mother of your child, I love you? Will your thoughts be of your people, or will it be of yourself only? Can you see the strength and beauty of the women, especially as she travels another sunrise to sunset, who gave you life? And who but Earth Mother allows you to walk upon her each and every day? May the day come when some young man like yourself comes to listen to you. Yes, I too was a young warrior. Only when I could lift my children, hold my child gently, stand with dignity for my children to witness, respect the strength and beauty of our women, and tell my children, my wife, my people, and myself, I love you. That was the day I became more than a warrior. I became a man. As the young warrior turned to go, he caught the eye of the old man. He had a wise and distant look in his eyes, and he felt that the old man saw into him and beyond him. The young warrior swiftly dropped his eyes and said quietly, "Thank you, grandfather," and left the lodge more slowly than when he entered. And in this chapter, there's a quote: For most people born male in this culture, we do not have a choice whether we will become men. We do, though, have a choice about what kind of man we will become. And that makes all the difference. Yeah. Hey, so this chapter, Becoming Men, and with that story and just going over this, what are your thoughts on this? What do you want to share with this?
And I feel like that story really is a message for everyone. And it's also a message that elder was specifically giving to that man. And that's what's so beautiful about this work in this book is your message might be different. Your message from your culture or your people or yourself, your authentic self might be different. And we're going to talk about becoming men, and we'll talk about it in some, generalized terms. And that's fine. It's really about reaching into yourself and following your heart and making sure your highest self, your integrity is a part of your manhood. And that's all we're saying in the end, because we're not telling you what to be a man is, because that might be different. And it might be different, especially these days, because quite honestly, it's all so many nebulous things in our sexuality right now, which is cool. I think it's like a strength, and it's like powerful that we're exploring all these different ways of being. And oh man, for me to becoming a man, I'm quite honestly just in the last few years, I'm just becoming confident in my manhood. And it was definitely a struggle for a long time because my culture kind of failed me. It failed me because it didn't tell me. It told me a bunch of crap, quite honestly, that what manhood was. And it took me a long time to figure out to separate the wheat from the chaff, and I'm still doing it. I wake up every day still having to focus on it and say, what is it? Who am I? And how can I express the highest parts of like my authentic self, which is, I feel very man oriented. I feel very like into manhood, and I'm embracing it more every day. I love being a man, and what that means to me is what it means to me. And I feel like, man, we got to do better. I don't want to fail my future generations. I don't want to fail my kids. I don't want to fail their friends. I want to help them to learn what it is to become a man. And that's what this discussion for me is all about.
Right on. Thanks, brother. Hey, Johan, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, wow. First off, I love the story. The story has so much meaning to me. When the warrior walks in, obviously a strong warrior. And what I see what I portray in my mind is this warrior that has fought to protect his village, that has been the strong presence. And what he learns from that old man is that there's more to that. There's more to that than just being masculine. There's more to just being strong and showing your strength. And this old man, this elder, was helping him understand the importance of love, of compassion. And that goes hand in hand with everything that, to me, what we've been talking about in the previous chapters. You mentioned that from when we first started at chapter 1 and where we are now and how we've gotten to know one another. I feel like that each one of us entered into this as the warrior, and each one of us were giving the lessons of an elder to each other. And that has been great for my soul. And I want to be able to let everybody know, man, having these discussions, having these and learning these new things about ourselves to embrace who we truly are, and not to feel like that a man just has to portray this certain image, because that certain image that was taught to me growing up, that's not really me. And as I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize that. As I'm getting older and discovering myself, I'm starting to realize that what has been taught to not only me, but to many young men and boys, that you have to be masculine, that you have to be strong, that you have to be that protector at all times. And when in fact, in reality, a man to me is someone who embraces who he really is, and accepts that, accept your strength, accept your compassion, and accept all your emotions. Because I like showing compassion. I love showing love to my family, to my friends, to my nephews, and to my nieces. And it took a while for me to understand that. And having guys like this, having brothers like yourself, and being able to have discussions helped me realize that. So, there's so much into the story. I love the story, because there's so much more to being a healthy man than just what we are taught. And man, discovering who you are and embracing that and accepting that.
Right on, right on. Um, and thank you both for your words, and this chapter about becoming men. Um, and it's a huge topic on what it means to become a man, because part of it too is there's an activity that we use. It's called the man box. And when we talk about this man box, it's about talking about the stereotypes that society puts on men. That you got to be this macho guy. You got to have the big truck. You got to uh, have all the women drink a lot of beer, and eat a lot of food, and watch sports and whatever else is in there. These stereotypes out there, and got to be this hunter and killing all kinds of game and animals with all kinds of trophies on your walls and this and that, or whatever it is. And then you're, as men in the society, we're supposed to fit into this box of what it is to be a man. But it's an unrealistic expectation placed on men. And we don't talk about, like you guys said, about the compassion, about the empathy, about love, about what it means to love, and what is true love. Because sometimes as men, it's to be able to express that. I mean, just even in my family, about men wanting just to embrace, give each other hugs, and to say I love you. We had to learn, with my uncles and my dad, and everything. We had to actually learn how to do that, And so I don't fit into that man box, and I don't want to. Like you said, I want to learn about who I am. I want to be authentic, whatever that is, and that's where, with our tribes, we had our rites of passage. And we don't have those rites of passage into manhood, what it means to be a man, about those teachings, and we need to get back to that. We need to get back to those things. And myself, when I was young, man, I was like this warrior, man. I'd walk into the room and just like this, I thought I was this badass, and I was just a young punk. I look back on it, man, 17, 18, even my early 20s, man. I look back on it, thought I knew something, thought I was all that. I had a head this big, man. And I thought I was, and I look back, I was this young punk walking into the room, and, here I am, and find out, thank goodness I had my elders, men, and my elders, women in my life. And I thank them. Thank you for the support they gave me. And it wasn't until I really realized that I was a man, or an adult, for that matter, a grown-up, but I was a man until I really started to find that purpose of, like in the story, how can I serve the people? How can I serve the people in a good way? How can I be that positive role model? I'll make my mistakes, believe me, and I still do. But how can I be that role model? How can people see me, and say that there's a good man? What can I do every day to make my ancestors proud? And what do I need to do to be that old man in that story? Because one day I'm going to be there. I know some of you already say, Gene, you're already there. You're already that old guy. I have many more years to go, man. But how can I become that elder, that old guy, and look back? Because maybe one day, I already have kids, youth, young men coming up to me already asking questions. But one day, those of you who are viewing out there, you men and women, one day you're going to have young men coming up to you and asking these questions. And what kind of elder are you going to be? What are you going to tell them? What are you going to tell them? And how can we become those respectful men that are respectful and honorable to our women, and love our women, and those in our lives, the partners in our lives, and respectful. And not only that, but respectful for our relative, the LGBTQ community. You know, and because many times it's like our kids, our children, our grandchildren, nephews, nieces fall into that category. And if they're in that LGBTQ community, are we going to love them less? You know, for myself, that is obvious to me. No, I'm going to love them for who they are. And that's all about becoming a man. You know, and being, not just becoming a man, but being a man. So, any other thoughts, brothers?
Oh, wow. You know, I love all that. So powerful. And I look back at my own journey and how many times I stumbled. And, you know, when I first grew up, I was pretty emotional little boy. And I didn't have any guy friends. I didn't have any friends that were boys around me. So I hung out with girls a lot. And I didn't know my dad, who was an awesome dad, but he moved out of the house, and I lived with my mom and my sister. So I didn't really I got it on TV. That's where I started to learn. And then I realized at one point, I'm like, I kept feeling the man box closing in, and I realized, according to this man box, I'm not manly enough. I'm like doing dance parties in the basement with girls. So I realized, like, man, I got to do something. So I started to play football. Honestly, I was like, what could I do, man? That's manly. And I loved it. I got a lot out of it. And it activated like part of my warrior spirit, which I still cherish. Because now I'm a warrior of the heart, but it's still a warrior spirit. And you know, and after I fell into all those same traps. I was supposed to be, you know, doing good with the ladies. I never was, you know, and I was supposed to be, you know, drinking a lot of beer in college, and I was stupid and did all that ridiculousness. And I fell into all that. And luckily, I found my own initiation, because if I didn't, I don't know where I'd be right now. I don't even want to know, because I initiated myself in a few different ways. One of them was I left everything behind, and I went to Africa, and I lived in a little village, and I separated myself from all my family and friends. And it was hard, man. It was like I suffered inside because I was changing, and I didn't have anyone guiding me. And but I did it, and I moved through it, and then it was like I felt just like Eugene. I thought I was like, man, I passed through that first little barrier, and I thought I was something, you know. I thought I like had it figured out. And you know, we got a lot of weird things happen in Africa. We got shot at, I got knives pulled, I got attacked, and I felt my confidence was growing all the time, that I was a survivor of this stuff. But then I realized, you know, when I got back I did feel different. I got back with my family, you know, and my friends came home, and I felt different for sure. I felt different from all of them, but I still wasn't a man, you know. And I've been so lucky in my world that I've had all these different cultures, from my African cultures to living up in the beautiful lands of the Inupiat peoples. And I gathered manhood, strengths and ideas from them, and around the Denina people, and just learned them. And I feel like that's been really important for me, to just like explore, because quite honestly, our culture doesn't give you, it doesn't hand you the gift of manhood. We don't have the rites of passage, and we are gonna do some rites of passage, because that is a dream of mine to help young people move through that. And I feel like a big part of that is breaking away from your childhood self and stepping up into this higher, or this like ideal of like, yes, you know, all these aspects that we contribute to masculinity. And I do think there is a masculine and feminine. I know I have both inside me, but I really feel like those attributes of manhood, some really positive, powerful ones, are ones that I'm constantly like trying to be more of, be more courageous, be more vulnerable, even, you know, be more adventurous and more action oriented, and be even grounded for my family, you know, just learning how to like take their emotions and ground it into the earth and into myself, and being a steadfast when my wife is like, you know, having her, you know, emotional difficulties because of her job or whatever, you know, being like a strength, but then also opening it up to, you know, my compassion for the world and for my family and for my friends and for my fellow men who are quite honestly lost, you know. A lot of us are lost, and I was lost, and I still wake up every day, like I said, and have to find myself again. And yeah, man, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, thanks for the words. I just want to add on the rites of passage on what both of you all have said. You know, what I visualized back in the day on our ancestors, they would help young men, help boys understand that they have responsibilities, that they have to embrace themselves. Because every single one of us, we all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. And we use these to the best of our ability. Our ancestors used these and they contributed to the village. They contributed to their community to strengthen their community. And I see how society is now on everybody's different, we all have different personalities. That's how it was back in the day. And nowadays we don't have that. We don't have communities coming together. We don't have men telling the young men, because I sure as hell didn't, you have a responsibility now. As a man, you have to embrace yourself. You have to honor yourself. You have to truly know who you are. And I feel that could just be so powerful if our young men, and including myself, heard that growing up. But us using the tools that we have now, and I'm not saying that I'm even close to knowing it all, because I am still finding my path. I'm still discovering myself. And having discussions like this, I want to share with all the men and young men watching this, having discussions like this is going to help you discover who you are. And when we address these questions and using this tool, I love this guide from men. It really helps you reflect on who you are, on how you think, and the things that you need to be addressed. And I view it as these are the kind of things that were discussed as the rites of passage back in the day.
Yeah.
You can, and once you identify them, once you truly know who you are, then you use those strengths to strengthen the world that you are in. That you embrace who you truly are and strengthen your community, strengthen yourself, strengthen your circle, your family and friends. But there's just and now, you know, being in that man box. Thank you for mentioning that man box, because everybody is influenced by it growing up. And that man box, it's not it. We don't belong here. We belong out here. We belong constantly trying to learn, constantly trying to grow, discover ourselves, and just being better than who we were yesterday. Because that man box, that's one of the activities that I look forward to doing with my sons and even myself. Just taking a piece of paper and a pencil, sitting down at a table, putting a box, and saying and asking myself, what has been taught to me on what a man should be like? And just write down as many things as I as I could think of. And then ask myself, who am I? What do I want to do? And how do I want to grow? And right outside the box. And sometimes those visuals really help. Sometimes those visuals are those light bulb moments. Because the first time that I did it, when I was with my brother Doug, the man box, this was 2 years ago. It was a very pivotal moment in my life. It helped me realize on how society structures on how a man is supposed to be. And that helped me ever since. It was doing activities like that, discovering myself, and using tools like this is what is needed. So even though we don't have a rites of passage right now, you helping the young men and boys in your circle to truly embrace who they are and not be stuck in that man box and live life and using their strengths and never be ashamed of who they are. If they wanna live life outside of the box, then embrace that and tell them to fly outside of that box, because that's that race of passage that we've always had for tens of thousands of years. So yeah, thank you for sharing your words. I just wanted to add on that.
Yeah, both of you guys, thank you so much. I mean, there's so much. We're talking about this man box. And those of you who don't know about the man box out there, just take a look on YouTube. You can find just YouTube man box, and they come up with all kinds of exercises, definitions, videos on what it is as well. And and again, it's an exercise that we use in this curriculum called Compass, a guide for men. And that's what we're going over today right now. And one of the things on this compass, this guide for men, is talking it out as a section. And what it is questions, just to elicit thoughts, to get the conversation going. So some of the questions on here is, what does equality look like in a dating relationship? What can we do to promote equality in our relationships? Who are the men that you look up to as role models? And what about them that makes them role models for you? What does it mean to be a man? And where do we get messages about manhood? Is there a difference between a media's idea of manhood and reality? And that's exactly what we've been talking about. And some of those things too is, who are our role models? And how can I be a role model? And when it comes to about being a man, and what does that mean? One of the things that really helps me in my path is, yes, I am a man, but I also ask myself that question: what kind of human being do I want to be? What kind of human being do I want to be? And part of that is that I want to be a loving human being, a compassionate human being, one that has empathy, respectful, honorable. And each one of those words that I said, I have my own definition of what it is. But I want to be a good human being, and in my growth, what can I do? And I'm really thankful. The question here is about dating and equality in our relationships. I'm really grateful to my wife. She really helps me, and teaches me and calls me on my crap, man. Calls me on my crap. Because she knows I want to be a better person, so she calls me on it when I'm just being stupid, doing stupid man box, stuff. Yeah, and I really appreciate her for that. And so there's my wife who really, is helpful to. I have my parents. I'm here at my parents' house right now, house I grew up in. Just to, thankful for them, and the lessons they taught me. But so, what kind of human being do you want to be, brothers? I mean, as we grow and one day we're going to be those elders. What kind of human being do you want to be?
I love that, man, because Human beings. That's what we are. That's what I'm practicing right now, and I want to be the best one I can be. And I so appreciate you bringing up relationships, because that's when you find out your stuff, you know. Yes, you can go into nature, and I've done that, and have your vision quest, and that's beautiful, man. Nature can teach you so much, you know, because rocks don't care if you're offended, trees don't care if you're offended. You realize it's like it's you, it's all you, you know, and the nature reflects that back on you. But relationships are like a whole different ball game, man. It's a powerful way of seeing who you are. And how we do relationships are, it's a testament to who we are as people. And I strive every day, man. I make mistakes at it, and I go, I'm going to do better, you know? I mean, I get frustrated, whatever. These days, I'm like a teacher, and I work, and I got my kids at home all day. I mean, it's easy. It's easy to get frustrated and get those buttons pushed. But that's what's so cool about it, is you can come back. Almost every day I say, man, I'm sorry, you guys. I got frustrated, and you know, I come back and try to stand up into who I am, and honor that, and honor the fact that I can be a good person, and I can make mistakes and still rebound from it. And I just want to touch on one thing, is the heart. You know, a lot of our culture, especially this part of our culture, this United States of America culture, whatever, this like norm culture, whatever the heck that is, we're in our heads a lot. It's all head, man. Information and this and that, and think about this and do that, man. I really believe in the heart. The heart is an organ that is as powerful as the brain. It is an energy, man. It actually makes energy. It makes this field around our bodies that's like, it produces electricity, and it produces an actual field, measurable, like 10 feet out. They can measure this thing. And that is where becoming a man is for me. It's not up here in the head. It's an energetic change. And you go from boyhood, which is awesome, and you change energetically, and you transform yourself, and you stand a little taller, and you hold yourself with integrity, man. That's, for me, manhood is about integrity, and about like holding yourself accountable all the time. You know, whether you screw up, which we all do, you hold yourself accountable, and you make another step toward the right path. And man, relationships test that every day for me. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is we have loved ones around us to like forgive us, to hear us, to allow us to practice it. And that's what I want to do. And I want to help others, you know, practice that, because that's how you become a real human being.
Thank you for saying,
Right on. Exactly,
yeah,
brother.
the human being. You know, I've gotten my best advice from women, and in fact, I've had a discussion recently with my wife. She was telling me something that really stuck with me that I want to share. It was, us as women don't need to be more women. Men don't need to be more men. We don't need to be more strong. We need to be more human. We need to be more human. And when she was telling me that, it was, my mind had an explosion. You know, I was like, wow, you know, some of the best advice that I've gotten were from women my whole entire life. My wife, my mother, my cousins up in, when we had that men's conference, you know. And being in a relationship, I also want to add on the relationship part. That is a whole nother ball game, and understanding who you are, you know, and understanding how you perceive your own self and how you perceive other individual. You know, as a man, it's often taught that a man has to be dominant, that a man is in charge, that a man is runs the relationship, is the head of household, that his word is law. When in fact, before that colonized way of thinking, it was well balanced, very well balanced. And having that way of thinking is completely backwards on how it was long ago. And being in a relationship, I think these are great questions for young men to not only ask themselves, but to ask their partner, what does equality look like in a dating relationship? Can you imagine the conversations that a young man and a young woman can have with each other? A father and a son can have with each other using these tools. Wow, that could be really powerful and undo that way of thinking on how this man has to be in charge. This man is the dominant one in a relationship. And that just feeds this I'm going to call it a monster. This monster that is grasping hold of our societies and causing this surge in domestic violence and murders and abuses. Because when you really take the time to understand an individual, and when you understand yourself, and you're always wanting to learn, that makes this world, makes your circle a better place. And you have to be willing to learn. Just like in this tool, it says teachable moments. Teachable. I want to learn more every single day to discover who I am. I want to be able to learn from you all every single day to help me on my path, so I could be the best father, the best husband, the best uncle, the best community member that I could possibly be. And I'm still on that path. None of us have all the answers. We're just three guys having this conversation, helping individuals know of the tools that we could use, the conversations that help us discover who we are, because that's the key, is discovering who you are and embracing it, not being ashamed of really embracing your true emotions and your thoughts and your compassion. And yeah, talking it out, teachable moments. They're beautiful, beautiful conversations to have. And I plan on having a conversation and using the same tool with my sons to help them develop the necessary skills and find out who they are, because I know that will go on later on in their lives with their partners, with their relationships.
Right on, man. Right on, brother. And thank you for that and bringing that up. You talked about the monster, and that monster of that can come up, and that monster could be anger, it could be rage, whatever it is. And I see that so many times in men who are in relationships. But getting to know who you are. And one thing I want to mention out there to the men and the young man is that oftentimes we're afraid to show fear. We're afraid to show and be vulnerable, and we're afraid to admit that we don't know. And that fear comes out in the form of anger, rage, abuse, violence, and such. But it's like we've been talking about it in this program, Guide for Men, Compass. And it's about getting to know who you are, first chapter. Second chapter is knowing your emotions, finding out about your emotions, respect for self, respect for others, communication, conflict resolution, because sometimes those conflict resolutions is with ourselves. And we're talking about that relation, about becoming a man and what it means to be a man and a human being, is that having that relationship with others, yes, but the relationship with ourselves. Getting to know who we are, what kind of human being we want to be. And it all leads up to this last chapter of what it means to become a man, becoming men and a human being. Because to become a man isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. But society's put that box around it, man. It's like, and say to become a man, but become a man is an honorable thing. It's a beautiful thing. And so it's like, yeah. And so, Johan, you brought that up, teachable moments. So part of this Compass curriculum, the guide for men, there's another part in here. It's called teachable moments. And some of the questions in that teachable moments area is challenge name calling or emotional teasing, intimidation for any reason. I just want to pull this out. When Doug, you were talking about how you hung out about with women and girls, and, and this and that. Uh, the macho guy said, "Oh yeah, you hung out with a bunch of girls. No wonder why you are the way you are, man." It's like now I see it in you. Geez, holy, get it together, brother. Get it together. It's like, but that's a teachable moment. It's like just stepping in and saying, "No, man. Hey, brother, right on. I'm glad that you were able to hang out around women and have that influence. That brings out that compassion, the empathy that you have." So take those teachable moments, in there. Another teachable moment: positivity towards expression of healthy masculinity. But to learn about what is healthy masculinity. And sometimes we live in our brains, Doug, you talked about we live in our brains, but learn about our hearts. But not only learn about our hearts, because it has energy, and but also about our guts, right? What's in our gut, man? What's our gut telling us? Because our guts even talks to us and has an energy to its own, and that's a whole nother chapter about how this stuff affects our bodies, and what our bodies are and how our body communicates to us. Challenge the idea of telling men and boys to man up when you're not willing to take a risk. Man, that whole thing, man up. And that's about putting people in the box, man. About man up, man up, oh, you wimp, and this whole thing is like, coaches use that. Oh, you're being like a bunch of girls. You're playing like a bunch of girls. Or oh, you guys are a bunch of pussies. This and that. Man up. I mean, I've heard it all, and to be honest with you, I've used it. And it's about me having a teachable moment with myself and checking my own language and how I use it out there. Because now, I mean, it's like, okay, I've used it myself, and that whole man up. I have a shirt that now says grandma up. Grandma up, man. Be strong like those grandmas. If anything, man up. Heck no. I want a grandma up, man. Because no one messes with the grandmas, man. It's like, I'm not going to man up or that. Grandma. And so then this last thing, teachable moments, if you hear someone bragging about their sexual experiences, explain that those experiences are private and they need to value their partner's privacy and be respectful. One of these things in the box, man, we talk about fitting into the box is like, oh yeah, I was with so-and-so and man, we got it on. It was like hot, this and that, and it's like, that's none of your dang business, man. And plus, it's like, that's all about fear and having to feel this image and looking up and being macho and, and manning up to your buddies or whatever it is, man. When you're in a relationship with someone, that's your intimate relationship. That's yours. And keep it to yourself. Don't be bragging about, what happened. And if my wife ever caught me saying anything like that, she would like just come and smack me in the head saying, "What the heck are you thinking about?" It's like it's like, oh, and so I do have fear, but I have a fear of like disappointing my wife. I fear of disappointing my elders, my mom, and those women in my life, and a fear of disappointing myself. And so those are teachable moments, and that we have. And there's another portion in here. It's called living the lesson. Model strength that is based on compassion, caring, emotional openness, and responsibility, not strength on domination, control, and violence. That first part is just exactly what the kind of human being I want to be. I want to be a compassionate, caring, emotional, open, and responsible human being. Find opportunities to support gender equality, equitable relationships. Choose to be a man amongst men, a man who defines his strength through respect, love, caring for others and the environment, and communicate that intimidation and name calling often have nothing to do with being a man and act as ways to intimidate men to stay in the man box. So those are like some of the living the lessons that, again, we're going over Compass, a guide for men, how to start the conversation, and this curriculum. And so with that, brothers, you know, we're coming to the end of this chapter. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share before we close it up?
When you were saying that, I was imagining just some of our men in Alaska, because that's where we are, and some of the coaches. And being a coach is such an honorable endeavor, and I appreciate all those coaches out there, because it's hard work. It's not easy, but when you're a coach and you have that moment, you're trying to get someone to like do something, right? Like maybe focus, maybe like work harder. And you're going to have that thing inside you. You're going to have the man box, and you're going to have your own heart and your own gut, and they're going to be having a conversation, and you got to choose, you know, which one you're going to take, because it's easy to fall back into the man box and use all those derogatory terms, you know, usually derogatory towards women, honestly, or genitalia or whatever. It's like, it's what they did, and it's what we were done to us when we were coaches, or when we were, like, you know, athletes. So you just gotta think it through a little bit beforehand, and maybe get yourself in order. And if you do make a mistake and say something, maybe that's a time to, you know, circle up at the end and be like, hey, you know, I said these things, and you know, I'm used to saying it's what my coach said to me, and I want to change that. And just be honest. That's all it all has to be. You know, working with this book is just about, it's as simple as just being honest and being open and talking about it. And you don't have to know all the answers or any answers. The answers come from within when you ask yourself and get involved in the discussion. So trust yourself and just let it flow. And thanks again for listening.
Right on.
I love that. You know, it's and when I read these teachable moments and living the lesson, you know, for us to be able to change the generation into healthy men, we have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to hold each other accountable. You know, we have to undo what has been done. You know, there's so many years and so many things were put in play to create this unhealthy man in today's society. Well, we got to work hard to undo that, to bring back that balance. You know, we have to be able to challenge the idea of telling men, challenge name calling, positively reward, you know, find opportunities. We have to be able to call each other out, and we have to hold ourselves accountable, you know, and we have to hold ourselves, you know, we have to call ourselves out sometimes. Like Brother Doug was saying, you know, if you slip up, because it's gonna happen. We all slip up, you know. I do almost daily, all the time. But holding myself accountable, knowing that, all right, I made a mistake, and owning that, yes, I made a mistake, and I want to improve. I want to get better. And taking what has helped me is reading this book, reading this tool, using this tool, and going over the questions myself, just so I could have that self-discovery for myself. And do it with a friend, do it with a brother, do it with your son. Hell, do it with your spouse, do it with your wife. You know, like I said, some of the best information and advice that I got were from women, asking them, what do you need from a man? What does a man look like from you, to you? And hearing that perspective, always wanting to grow, always wanting to be better. You know, it's needed. It is needed for all of the men. It is needed for ourselves, because we have the power to undo everything that is done. We have the power to be that change and to raise strong, healthy, strong young men in society that will be the role models that we need to end the violence. But it's up to us. We have to discover who we are and embrace that and use that.
Right on. Hey, thanks, man. And again, this is a compass, a guide for men. And that's all it is, a guide for men. How can we become better men, better human beings, learning about who we are, learn about our emotions, respect for self, respect for others. Um, how do we communicate and have conflict resolution? How do we deal with that? And how do we just become just men, better men, and a strong man, compassionate, loving man. And and when it's time to step up to have that strength as well, have that strength. How do we become those peacemakers and those warriors? And that's all we're doing here. I just want to thank my brothers for just again another conversation that we've had, and that's all it is. We're just having a conversation. We're asking the question, and I want to encourage you out there to ask yourself, what is it to become a man, and even ask others, what is it? What is it to become a man, a good man, a loving man? Ask people out there what their thoughts are. In a healthy way. In a healthy way. Learn about what how healthy masculinity is. Check into the man box. Check it out. And look into it and learn about it. And that's all it is. It's about learning in this life. So with that, brothers, another chapter down. We're at the end of this, and we'll be bringing more programs to you and more discussions, and we're gonna have yeah. So with that, I just want to say thank you, Gunachish, for keep going on and on. I know we can, but thank you for your words, thank you for your spirit, thank you for your commitment in this work too, guys. And so with that, sign off until next time. And everyone out there, thank you. Thanks for watching. Take care. Be well. Be blessed. Be safe.
Nahai gom slagi get 'em wayo ho sludum tatnen. Oh.